So I wasn't planning on filming this part of the video. I was just planning on building everything and then demoing it at the end, but because there were so many complex parts that are likely about to get covered up, I thought it might be useful to show them whilst it was at this stage and then splice it into the video. So as you can see at this point here, we have a number of functions. So first of all, we had the ability to dip the headlights by using this here, with the headlights dipping at the front. You can see at this point we also have fully articulated suspension. So here at the front you can see that it's operating here on the springs, obviously same there, and again articulated at the back as well. You can see over here that there is basically this, I think this is going to link to the steering wheel, because as we turn this section here you can see these cogs move and these and it moving the arms here. Now I suspect that as well as this turning all of these, that potentially something might sit on the top, because you've got 3 cogs to do that job, but that's what you've got at the minute, so that operates those. And the way that works is this part that moves, whenever there's a moving bit, it sits on top of a smoother brick, as you'll see in a second. So you've got that working there. As we move our way back, you can see that these sections here are sliding, and that's just the kind of smooth bricks that I'm talking about, that they'll slide across. These, I'm guessing, are probably going to be where the seats are sat. And then as we have a look here, you can see that there is a gearing system in place, 1, 2, 3, with the cogs, with the 2 rows of cogs at the minute. So when it's in position 1 like this, the front 2 cogs will marry up and they spin at a certain rate. Then when we move it back into position 2, which is here, you can see that these cogs line up and that will spin it at a different speed. And then finally, when you put it into position 3, you can see the middle cogs line up and again rotate at a different speed. And you can see at the back how that is then turning this axle section here, which is attached to the wheels. So, and then from here, we will then build the engine, which sits on top. And I'll build this again in a moment, but basically you're going to then build this section here, which is the engine, with the 4 cylinders that all operate with this gearing here on the bottom that then sits on top here, and it kind of interacts with these cogs here and also with the rest of the drivetrain. But I'm going to break this down and rebuild it, and you'll get to see it being built again in a section, because it's actually a really tricky part to build. Okay, at this point I'm now going to show you how to build the engine, which is pretty fiddly, especially getting this part right. And so I'm going to point out a few things that I learned building it. I haven't stripped everything down just to save time. I've just dismantled it, and then we'll rebuild from here. So first of all, we'll work at this section here. So it's a 12 rod first going into one of these larger cogs. So basically the first one will just go into the central position, like so, and make sure it doesn't protrude out the far side. As you can see, after that we need a 4 rod. So for the 4 rod, one of these, you're going to locate one of these side crosses, and so you go into the side cross, make sure it's lined up correctly, and gently slide your 4 cross into there, so just like that. Now next to this, as you can see, there's 2 kind of piston attachments. So you take your rod as it is there, and you're just going to stick 2 of them on, and as you can see, they then require a 3 to come out of each of them. So if we take a 3, pop the 3 rods in, like so. Now after that, you can see there is another cog. Now this other cog is it's on the end of this this other 4. So best thing to do is, I think, put the 6 into this one first. So if we pop this down, you take the 6 rod, which is here, and same as the other one, you're going to put it into the central position here. So pop the 6 like that, just up to the end. You don't want it to poke out any further, and then repeat that thing with the 4 rod. So you're going to stick another 4 rod just like this. Be really careful using these extra crosses. You just have to get it exactly right, otherwise it doesn't like it. Like that. And then you're going to make sure that again it doesn't overlap at either end, like so. Now once that's done, you can then again put the two kind of pistons onto here and attach our other threes. Now as he looks around, so that's our 6, our 4, and then you've got the 4 with the threes. Now the trick here is for the central one, you need to remember that these need to essentially be as if they were in line. So what you're going to do is, don't worry too much about the orientation in terms of a diagram at the minute. You're going to take one of these, and you need to make sure it's still in line with one of those, but again it's going to be offset to the side. So what you want to do is you're going to make sure you don't put it on the wrong one. You're going to line it up in a position that it's still the same as the other one. So just like that. So as you look down, it's all in a line, but this 4 is offset. And the reason you don't want these ones being pushed further in is because it will stop that rotating. I found that a snag. So you need to make sure that central one is nice and clear like that. Now from the other side it's the same again, but it's the opposite. So where you need to make sure that if this is on this side, this one's going to go into that side there. So again, popping the cylinders back on, you're going to line it up like so, making sure, see now if I did that it would be incorrect because the cogs are misaligned, so I need to come round another turn, and that they are all now lined up. No they're not, yet. There, now they're all lined up if I was to push them together. So now I've got to very carefully just push those the 4 and the 4 together, like so. So now when we look down, if this is turning, you should only really see one set of wheels. And then again, you've got to make sure that you don't have any overhangs. So this 4, you don't want to overhang into there, otherwise it will catch, it won't turn. So make sure that is flush. And again, this end here, you don't want this to protrude. So these have to be able to spin freely, otherwise you'll have a problem with the engine turning. So that's built that input to that far. Now you put the end caps on, these piston end caps, like so. And on the end of those, these kind of cylinder heads will attach. There. There. And finally the 4th one. So that's now, see as that turns, once these are in position they will all move in a different way. So that's on. Now you can see the next section here, there's a number of other things to build. So there's this section here that's fairly straightforward. As you can see there, it just has the 2 pins here, 1 pin on the rear side, the peg, and then you have this other section just down here which you also need to build, which looks like this. So it has all 3 coming through, but not a bottom one because the shaft goes through it in a second. So that's that section built as well. Now you also have this bit here in the middle that you need to build, and what's not particularly obvious is that these are offset, so you can see how there's a hole at the front but not there, and the you've got it like this. Basically when you build it and it just says ×2, it's not exactly the same. You need to move these pegs around, you need to adjust this until you get to the point where you have them basically looking like so. So as you can see, you've got the transparent parts on the outside, you've got the pegs matching here, and then you've got the transparent side, and you've got it like that again. So into those you can then put your extra you know, some more of these ones on here. Bit of a jump cut there. So one thing I noticed was I'd missed off this end piece here first, so that needs to slide down to hold that cog in place. And also you can see at the other end there is another small one, followed by one of these, which seems to only go about halfway, so it goes to about there. Now I got none of that was on camera, basically that small one, that small one, and this one here. Now when you come to put these on, basically this isn't particularly obvious how to put it together. It just says ×2, but you need to just make sure you end up with the end pieces looking like this, facing each other, with your four in the middle, making sure that you can see they're offset here, and that's because when they get put together the bar goes through them, so they have to be offset. Also, because the cylinders, you can see down here, they're forward and back, just like up at the top. That's because when you look through here, you can see that these, again, the cylinder heads, when they, because this has to be in line, it can't be offset, i.e. the housing of the engine. So when you look through, you'll see that if we do it like that, you can see the far side is ahead of this one. So that then means that when you put it on, you need to make sure these are also in the correct orientation. So this one actually has to be over there first, this one would have to be under here, that one would have to be over there, and this one would have to be under here. So just like the diagrams, but also you're making sure that they're like this, but also built in the way that these are offset, and also these are offset. Once that's been done, you'll then just put the cylinder heads inside their holes, facing kind of with the bricks pointing outwards like that, and then you can kind of push that further in, and then you do the same for this side here. And that then allows, you see, the engine block to sit kind of correctly, the front and the back being in exactly the same place. Once that's been done, you can see that you then attach these parts onto here. So there's this section here will go on, and this is where you're going to feed it through the bottom section. So in fact, what was the easiest to do, I found actually putting the bar through it was the best way to do it. So basically you'll take the you'll turn these so they're all in line, rotate this section up, and just feed the bar through like that, and then you can see the pistons are all in their holes, and then using the end pieces as shown on the diagram, just going to cap that bar off. So that's now held in place. I found that's a little bit easier to then place this section on. So what you'll now do is feed that through the bottom hole, that will come all the way in, and then what you want to do is you need to get the bottom holes. Sometimes it looks like you're going to put the pegs in the middle holes. It's not, it's the bottom holes, which allows it to open up a little bit more. So you're going to find the bottom holes, just gently put it in each, I found helped, and then seat it in like that. So that's on there, and then we're then moving around to the rear section. That's mounting this part on. So as you can see, this goes with, if it was upside down as per the diagram, you're just going to basically slide that into the middle, and then you're looking for the bottom bottom hole to put the pegs in. Now obviously this bit's going to have to slide down a little further as you go along until you get it all the way in. So looking for the bottom peg, and then you have to just open the engine block out a little bit and then push it all the way in. So that you can see is as per that top diagram. And if we were to rotate this, you can see that's now the engine block all working nice and smoothly. That's because you don't have any overlaps in here, and everything's all lined up. So because you don't want any dramas when you've got this in use. You want all your clearances to be good. Now once that's done, it's really just kind of a garnish on the engine blocks. Now once that's done, we're kind of moving on to the final part, which is taking these additional cogs, which you can see here, and sliding them down. So here it's just upside down. I'm going to slide those down there. And then we're going to take the other larger one and slide the other one of the same size and slide it down. And I would suggest maybe just supporting there, because again, what you don't want to do is push that and for it to protrude through here, which will then mess the mechanism up. So it's sometimes handy at different stages just to rotate that. And then you can see there's the smaller one at the end with this end piece that goes on. And then once we fit it, which we'll do it in a second, you can see this section just goes on. So I will now attach that onto the car. This section here is now going to sit here. This one here will sit in between there, and we're just going to finesse a little bit. So as we come down, we have a look at the front one and just see how close it is, and we can see we really want to seat this one first, and you can see that one's too far forward. So we're just going to finesse that. So that's pretty much spot on there now. So what I'll do is just push down on there, and then so we can see at the rear, that's literally just mounting onto the back of the vehicle there. So just lining up the pins, so the studs, and that's now seated on, all nicely connected. And then the final part was taking this section here and putting it over the top, and that's then secured. Trying to do it as per the diagram, it'll face away. And there we go, so that's now attached onto there. We've got the engine block in place, and we've got these cogs all lined up like so. So you can see as I still turn here, the engine block is still working, which is good, nice and free of movement. And then if we then see the gearing system now interacts with all three levels, so you can see in the manual, when we're in first gear, which is this one here, we're expecting to see these cogs in line, which is the top one, this one, and the lower one. So if you were to turn, all of those cogs then move. Into the second, we're looking for this lot of gears here to line up. So if I move this gear into second, obviously the engine will be moving slightly. You can see that one, and that one all line up. And then finally, when we move into third gear, we can see that the two here right at the very back, just here, now lining up, and these two here, this one and here, also line up. So that's the complicated engine part been built, and I'll now crack on with the rest of the build and put this into the larger video.